Pareda, morning class kya? What and all things we discussed in a previous class? Scope, right? Isn't it? We're discussing about scope of a programming language. So it is nothing but it is how long that particular variable is existing in a program and how long its binding is active. That is known as scope of a variable. And we discussed how the scope will be related, how the nested scope will work, and what is meant by uh, how each language is depending on the declaration order, right? This much and all we discussed. Now we are going to discuss about the next topic, that is about static scoping and dynamic scoping. So before we discussed about in scope, we discussed about global scope, local scope, then third one is block scope, right? So these 3 points we have discussed already. Now today we will discuss about these two scope. So the key idea behind the static scope rule is that bindings are defined by the physical structure of the program and it is defined before the runtime. Whatever the case of dynamic scope rule, binding depend on the current state of the program execution. That means currently what is the current state? It will dynamic scope will depend on the current state. Okay. Next is and static scoping we will call. First, I'll tell you this few theoretical part regarding this static scope and dynamic scope. Then we will discuss a program, an example of these two. Okay. And here in static scoping, we will call it as lexical scoping. Why it is called lexical scoping? Because in this scope, variables always refer to its top level environment. This is a property of the program text and unrelated to the runtime call stack. So in most of the programming languages, including C, C++, and Java, variables are always statically or lexically scoped. That is, the binding of a variable can be determined by the program test and is independent of the runtime function of the stack. That means if I'm statically assigning a value, it is not going to change during the runtime. That is known as static. Okay. So see this example. You can see this example, right? You can read this, right? Okay. Now tell me, what is the output it will print? What output it will print here? Tell me. I'm expecting an answer. Anyone, please put your answer in the chat box. Put your answer in the chat box. What is the output of this? So here int x called by g, int f return x. G has its own variable named as x and calls f. Int g x equal to 20 return f. Then there comes the main function. So what will be the output of this? What is the value which will print here? Any answer? Anjita, Advait, Akhil, Razana, Kirtana, Atul, Masna, Sangeet. Are you and then answer print here? What will be the answer for this? Here, how the control flow will work? Here, this is the main function. Inside main function, I'm calling the function g. So control will directly go to the g. Here is the g, right? G is giving the value for excess 20 and return f. I'm calling f. I'll call to f. So what will be the value for x? return x. It is returning the value x in int f. What will be the value here? 10 or 20? മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ നിങ്ങൾക്ക്? ദിൽന, സിനാൻ, പ്രണവ്, ശ്രദ്ധ, ഇജാസ്. ഇല്ലേ? ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് പറയാം മക്കളെ. ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ പറ മനസ്സിലായില്ല എന്ന് പറ. I'll explain once again. നഫ, സംഗീത്, ഇവിടെ എന്താ ആൻസർ വരാന്ന് പറ. നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ സ്റ്റാറ്റിക് സ്കോപ്പിങ്ങിന്റെ കേസിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണ് വാല്യൂ എടുക്കുന്നത്, അതേപോലെ തന്നെ. റൈസ, റോഷൻ, 20. Okay, now I'll explain. So here it is following a static scoping. So here in static scoping, how this programming will work here. Second. Now see how the control flow will work here. First, initially, x is given with a global declaration value as 10, right? So x is given with a value 10. Now I'm calling a function inside the main function. I'm calling g, and see, I'll draw the block. Okay, I'll draw the block diagram and I'll explain. So this is initially x value is 10. Now inside this main program, this is the main. Inside this main program, I'm calling a subroutine called g. Okay, so this is the subroutine for g. Inside g, is there any redeclaration? Yes, x equal to 20. Okay, so and inside this x 20, it is closed here. I'm calling another function called f. That means f is another function call. From g, I'm calling f, right? F I'm calling here, and here initially whatever this value I have, x is having a global scope value as 10. Initially x was 10, and during the runtime I have changed it to 20, but it is having only local scope. So if it is of static scope, if that programming language is following the static scope, what it will do is like it will refer its closest to block, which is the value present there for x. F will access the global scope value which is given for x, that is 10. So if it is of static scoping, it will print 10 here. Okay, so here in static scope, the value returned by f is not depend on who is calling it, right? Who is calling f? G is calling f, right? Who is calling f? Who is calling f? G is calling f, right? G അല്ലേ എഫിനെ കോൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അതായത് ഇവിടെ മെയിൻ ഫംഗ്ഷൻ ഞാൻ g കോൾ ചെയ്തു and g is calling f. So here if it is a static scope, the value returned by f is not depend on who is calling it. Like g calls it and with value of x as 20. F always return the value of global variable x. Okay, that is the case for static scope. Now we'll go to dynamic scope. So what dynamic scope will print, we will see that. So in dynamic scope, with dynamic scope, a global identifier refers to the identifier associated with most recent environment. Okay, so here it is associated with most recent environment and is uncommon in modern languages. So here in technical terms, we can say that this means that each identifier has a global stack of binding, and the occurrence of an identifier is searched in most recent binding. So here the same example, what it will print for the value of x. See this here, same thing, index equal to 10. G is called by f, return x. Main inside main, I'm calling g. G will go back where g will where this control flow will go, print g. That means it will go to the function declaration of G. So here, what is the value of current active stack of X? It is 20. So in dynamic scope, whichever value it is given during the runtime, or we can say currently active value, currently active value, that will be given for dynamic scope. Clear, Ayo? That is what we says here. In the case of a dynamic scope, with dynamic scope, a global identifier refer to the identifier associated with most recent environment. So here, global stack of binding and the occurrence of the identifier is searched for the most recent binding. Our X in the case, initially X has a global binding with the value 10, and I am updated, or I have changed the value to X equal to 20. So if it is following a dynamic scope, it will change for the most recent updation of the value X, and it will print 20. That's the difference between static scope and dynamic scope. Hope you understood with these two. Clear ano? Is it clear ano? Say yes or no. Anika, Kirtana, Jisna, Roshan, Sahala, Sankit, Vishnu, Vaishnavi. Is that okay? Any doubt on this? Okay. Sure. So that is about the static scope and dynamic scope. Now we will move on to the next topic. This is a very important topic, because always in module 1, essay question will come from this question. One question will be this. എന്തായാലും ഈ പോർഷനിൽ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉറപ്പായിട്ടും ചോദിക്കാറുണ്ട്. നമ്മളത് ഓൾറെഡി ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തില്ലേ, ലൈഫ് ടൈം ഓഫ് സ്റ്റോറേജ് മാനേജ്മെന്റ്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് lifetime. While telling the lifetime, we have to consider some events like creation of objects, creation of binding, reference to variable, reactivation of binding, destruction of object. First, whenever we are telling the lifetime, we have to create the object. Lifetime of an object means till the creation, from the creation till the destruction. Similarly, for binding, creation of binding till the destruction. Okay, so that is known as lifetime of object and binding. The period of time from the creation to destruction is called lifetime of binding. Similarly, the time between the creation and destruction of object is called object's lifetime. Okay, so the textual region of the program in which binding is active is known as scope. Now, this is the essay question. Okay, it's very important. Okay, these three allocation. This is actually we have discussed in our compiler design. Few portions are new, but rest all the concept is similar, and you have to concentrate on it. Okay, so storage allocation mechanism, mainly three main storage allocation mechanism, that is static allocation, stack allocation, and heap allocation. Okay, so these three are the main storage allocation mechanism, and we are using another mechanism called garbage collection to manage the storage mechanism. Okay, so allocation mechanisms are these three, and this garbage collection mechanism is used to manage the free space inside a storage. Okay, now we will see each one in detail. First one is static allocation. And the static allocation, that means in the case of static allocation, static objects have an absolute storage address that is retained throughout the execution of the program. That once we are given with a storage, it is not going to change throughout the program. That particular space is given for that particular code or that particular variable only. It is not going to change, and we cannot increase or decrease in the case of static allocation. Okay, അതായത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തന്നെ അറിയാം, സ്റ്റാക്ക് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഒരു മെമ്മറിയിൽ ഒരു എറേ എന്ന് പറയുന്നു, ഇൻറ്റ് എ ഓഫ് 10 അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇൻറ്റ് എ ഓഫ് 5 ഒരു എറേ. ഇതിന്റെ സൈസ് എത്രയാ? ഈ എറേന്റെ സൈസ് എത്രയാ? 5, right? So whatever elements that you wanted to store less than the size 5, we can store it in it, right? Greater than 5, we cannot store in this. You cannot store this because there is no memory to store that, and the address will be same throughout the program. That means the static object have an absolute storage address. This is very important. Absolute storage address, because it is not going to change and it is retained throughout the execution of the program. The clear ayallo? So absolute address are also called real address or machine address. And this is fixed in memory. ഇപ്പം array a of 5 എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, if it is creating statically, 5 സൈസുള്ള ഒരു integer array നമ്മൾ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കും. We cannot change it further. So it is a fixed size, fixed address in memory. They are often allocated in protected or read-only memory. Once it is allocated, no other variables or any other person can use it, because it is reserved for this. It is read-only. It is protected. So any attempt to write them will cause processor interrupt, allowing the operating system to announce it is a runtime error. What is the advantage of this? It is statically allocated object is fast access is there. Clear ayo parna points? So in the case of static allocation, absolute storage address is used, and this is we will call it as fixed address. We cannot change it further, and if anyone is trying to access the same memory location, it will create a processor interrupt, or the compile or the operating system will give you a runtime error. Okay, that means it is already occupied, isn't it? Now in static allocation, static objects are given for storing the is given with this absolute address, right? And the static allocation is used for storing global variables, local variables, numeric and string valued constant, constant literals, explicit constant, and scalars. Normally നമ്മളിപ്പം ഒരു ഇതാണ് ഒരു സ്റ്റാക്ക് എങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ പ്രോഗ്രാം കോഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എപ്പോഴും സ്റ്റാറ്റിക് അലൊക്കേഷനിലാണ് വരിക. പിന്നെ ലോക്കൽ വേരിയബിൾസ്, ഗ്ലോബൽ വേരിയബിൾസ്, ഇതൊക്കെ ഒരു സ്റ്റാറ്റിക് അലൊക്കേഷനിൽ എന്താ പറയുക, ഒരു പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ സ്പേസിൽ ഇതിനെയൊക്കെ അലോക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാറ്റിക് അലൊക്കേഷൻ മെത്തേഡാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക. സോ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് ഫിക്സ്ഡ് അലൊക്കേഷൻ ഓഫ് മെമ്മറി, cannot increase or decrease in further. Okay, so this is how it will look. In the case of static allocation, it will store inside a prescribed memory location, or we cannot change it further, right? It is already fixed. Arguments in return address, miscellaneous bookkeeping information, local variables, and temporary variables. All these variables are stored like this. This is for subroutine 1. Static allocation space for subroutine in a language program without recursion. This is without recursion. Okay. Arguments and returns, and it will store the return address, local variables present in subroutine 2. Similarly for subroutine 3, it will be stored like this. Clear ayo? Stack allocation okay aano? Stack allocation okay ayo? Means it is fixed. We cannot change it further. That size of code will be allocated before the runtime. These are the main points in the case of static allocation. Okay. Now we will move on to the next allocation mechanism, that is stack allocation. So this is also, you are also very much familiar about stack allocation mechanism because you have studied activation record in the case of parameter passing, isn't it? In compiler design. So herein stack objects are allocated and deallocated in which manner? Stack il engane nammal insertion deletion cheya? Which method that we are following? Tell me. Stack in the case la which mechanism that we are following for insertion and deletion? Push and pop operation nu parayum nammal. How the push operation, pop operation work? Which is the mechanism? Give me answer in chat box. LIFO. Yes. Last in first out. Very good. That means here the last item that we are inserted will be deleted first, right? So last in first out order, usually in conjunction with subroutine calls and return. Here the stack is used for storing parameters, local variables and temporaries. So why we need a stack? Allocate a space for recursive pointers and to reuse the space. Now we will see how the stack will work. Stack in a case, every recursive subroutine call must have a separate instantiation of local variables. For example, if I'm telling A എന്ന് പറയുന്നൊരു function call ഉണ്ട് അതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ again I'm calling A. This is a recursive call, right? So whatever variable I'm declaring inside a separate activation record will be created, right? A ഒരു activation record ഉണ്ടാവും. പിന്നെയും ഞാൻ A call ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഇതിൻ്റെ മേലെ വേറൊരു A ഉണ്ടാവും, റൈറ്റ്? എന്നിട്ട് ഇത് എക്സിക്യൂട്ട് ഇത് എൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഇതിനെ പോപ്പ് ഔട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അഗെയിൻ ഈ എയിലേക്ക് തിരിച്ചു വരും. അങ്ങനെയാണ് റിക്കേഴ്സീവ് കോൾ ചെയ്യുക. സോ every recursive subroutine call must have a separate instantiation of local variables. Normally, each instance of a subroutine at runtime has a frame on the runtime stack. Okay, നമുക്കൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയുമ്പോൾ അത് കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ക്ലിയർ ആവും. ഈ ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ നോക്കി നിങ്ങൾ. How this is working. See, first example C program main function I'm calling. So inside a stack I'll create a space for main program. Inside main program, temporaries, local variables, bookkeeping information, return address, arguments, everything that we will maintain the activation record of the main program. So inside stack I'll create an activation record for main. Main എന്തൊക്കെയുണ്ടോ അതൊക്കെ സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്തു. അതിനുശേഷം after main I'm calling another subroutine called A, right? So I'll create a space for A will be the current. ഇപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റാക്കിന്റെ ടോപ്പിൽ എന്താ ഉണ്ടാവുക? എ ഉണ്ടാവുക. സോ വാട്ട് എവർ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഇസ് ദെയർ ഫോർ ദ സബ്റൂട്ടീൻ എ ദാറ്റ് വിൽ ബി സ്റ്റോർഡ് ഇൻസൈഡ് this portion of A. Inside A I'm calling B, right? So I'll create another activation record that will be stored inside the stack, and now the current top value will be B. Okay, again inside this B I'm calling A. That means again I'll create another space for A also. So here you can see a frame pointer will always point the currently active subroutine. ഇവിടെ ഏതാ currently active subroutine? ഏതാ? ടോപ്പ് സ്റ്റാക്കിന്റെ ടോപ്പിലുള്ളത് ഏതാ? A. So FP will point to this frame, this subroutine A. Now stack pointer will point to the next free space in the stack. Okay, അത് എപ്പോഴും ഓർത്ത് വെക്കണം. സ്റ്റാക്ക് പോയിന്റർ ആൻഡ് ഫ്രെയിം പോയിന്റർ. ഫ്രെയിം പോയിന്റർ will always point to the currently active subroutine activation record, and the stack pointer will point to the empty space present in that stack. Clear ആയോ? Now we will see this. ഇത് തന്നെയാണ് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെയും ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. അത് ഞാൻ ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ വെച്ച് പറയുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. So here you can see in stack based allocation different subroutines I'm calling, like A, B, C and D. A is called from main program. We assume that A has been called by the main program, and that it then called the subroutine B, right? And B subsequently calling the subroutine C, which in turn called the subroutine D. At any given time, the stack pointer register point to the first unused space. See where the SP is pointing? First unused space, unused location in the stack. Okay, and the frame pointer FP, frame pointer FP register point to the known location within the frame. ഏത് സബ്റൂട്ടിന്റെ ആക്ടിവേഷൻ റെക്കോർഡാണോ കറന്റ് ആക്റ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളത് അതിലേക്കാണ് FP പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്യുക. And all the activation record normally contain these many items like return address, miscellaneous bookkeeping, local frame, temporaries, arguments, and called routines. All this information will be stored inside the stack allocation. ഇത് ക്ലിയർ ആണോ? ഇത് വരെ ക്ലിയർ ആണോ? Any doubt in this? If yes, ask me now. ഇത് വരെ ക്ലിയർ ആണോ? Say yes or no. Shrishma, Sahala, Akhil, Nitin, Kirtana, Advait, Anjali, Anjita, Shirona, Vaishnavi, Roshan. ഓക്കെ ആണല്ലേ? ശരി. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ എന്തൊക്കെ പഠിച്ചു? സ്റ്റാക്ക് അലോക്കേഷൻ ആൻഡ് സ്റ്റാറ്റിക് അലോക്കേഷൻ. The next allocation mechanism is heap-based allocation. So normally, heap objects may be allocated and deallocated at arbitrary times. A heap is a region of storage in which subblock can be allocated and deallocated at arbitrary times. Normally, heap എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ dynamic ആണ് അല്ലേ? It is not like a continuous memory location. So wherever memory space are free, there we will store object like fully general character, string, list, set. Whole size may change as a result of the assignment statement or update operation. ഇപ്പം നമ്മളിപ്പം array size arrayനെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ഡൈനാമിക്കലി ഇംപ്ലിമെന്റ് ചെയ്യാം. ഏത് ഡാറ്റ സ്ട്രക്ചർ വെച്ചിട്ട്? ലിങ്ക്ഡ് ലിസ്റ്റ് വെച്ചിട്ട്, isn't it? So if I'm using a singly linked list, whenever you want to expand the size of that array, you can do it. Correct? Because linked list is following a heap based allocation. Wherever memory, it is not looking for a continuous allocation. So wherever memory is free, it will point to that particular address and you can follow a dynamic method there. Correct? Okay. Now, in the case of a heap-based heap for dynamic allocation, there are two important issues that we are facing. One is external fragmentation, another is internal fragmentation. എന്താണ് എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷനും ഇന്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷനും എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞേ? എന്താണ് എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷൻ, എന്താണ് ഇന്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷൻ? സംഗീത്, സാരംഗ്, ശ്രദ്ധ, റൈസ, കീർത്തന, അഭിനന്ദ്, അഖിൽ, നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടില്ലേ ഇന്റേണലും എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷൻസും? എന്താണ് ഈ എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷനും ഇന്റേണൽ ഫ്രാഗ്മെന്റേഷനും എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ? Normally, memories are divided into chunk of blocks, right? So here, if this is a size 60, 20 plus 60. ഇപ്പം 180 ബ്ലോക്ക് ആണെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചോ. ഞാൻ അതിനെ 60 3 ഡിവിഷൻസ് ആയിട്ട് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. If I want to store a block of size 5, I will use this 5. Rest 55 are left as unused, right? So I have allocated this for some process called P. I cannot reuse this. 55 block of memory is wasting here, right? Similarly, if I want to store 1, same thing. I'll use the 60 size block and rest of the space is left as unused. That means if I'm assigning a block for a particular process which is wasting more memory space, or it is more than sufficient to hold that particular process, rest of the memory blocks will be left unused, right? അതിനാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്ത് പറയാ? internal fragmentation എന്ന് പറയും, isn't it? Some of the space left unused, that is known as internal fragmentation. Now what about external fragmentation? For example, ഇത് ഇപ്പോൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്തതാണ്. ഇവിടെ ഒരു 10 ബ്ലോക്ക് ഓഫ് സൈസ് ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആസ് അൺയൂസ്ഡ്. ഇവിടെ ഇത്രയും മെമ്മറി ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആസ് അൺയൂസ്ഡ്. ഇവിടെ ഒരു 20 ഉണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ എത്ര മെമ്മറി സ്പേസ് ഇപ്പം ലെഫ്റ്റ് അൺയൂസ്ഡ്? 30, റൈറ്റ്? And I want to allocate a block of size 30. Whether I will be able to allocate this 30 here? Whether I will be able to allocate this 30 here? No, because here 30 is there, but it is not continuous. It is scattered here and there, right? Here 10 is there, here 20 is there. So overall 30 is present here, but still I will not be able to allocate it because it is not continuous. This kind of memory issue is known as external fragmentation. So here the shaded blocks are in use. Clear blocks are free, while while there is more than enough total free space remaining to satisfy an allocation request, but it is not continuous. No single remaining block is large enough to hold this particular block. This is known as external fragmentation. Clear ആയോ? ഇത് clear ആയോ? ഇത് clear ആയോ? Say yes or no. പറയടാ. ഇതുവരെ clear ആയോ? Any doubt in this? Rasana, Nafa, Nitin, Pranav, Anjali, Akash. Okay, Anala. Share it. So for the time being, I'll stop here. Rest of the things will continue next class. Okay.